What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock, what you should be looking out for the future, and why tomorrow is going to be an absolutely massive day for Tesla, for the economy, for the stock market, as the big federal funds rate hike decision is about to be made. So the Fed is going to make a huge decision that's going to affect the bond market, the everyday lives of millions of people all over the world, and the entire economy as we know it. It's really going to have a big effect on Tesla. I'm going to break down why tomorrow is going to be huge and everything you need to know. And before I break anything down, though, before I get into any details, I got to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner, so don't take any of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any of these 12 free stocks could be a free Tesla share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 10 days. So please check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So overall, Tesla's pretty much flat for the day. We're actually just down like 0.1%, but we did have some crazy price action. We basically started off very choppy, got a nice push up to this 313 level. After that, we got a big rejection. We came down pretty hard, bounced very close to the 200 EMA, which is around that 305 level. And then after that, we basically closed at 308, just a little bit in the red. And overall, we did not see a major move from the futures. We did see somewhat of a sell-off for part of the day, and Tesla is holding up a lot better than the overall market. It's actually pretty strong right now. However, I wouldn't be too certain that this current price action is going to be a big determiner of what's going to happen tomorrow, because tomorrow is where the big decision comes. So when you see people saying, oh, it looks like a head and shoulders, oh, it looks like this, I don't really care about that, guys. What matters is, what is the Fed going to do? That's going to be the biggest determining factor of how Tesla moves for tomorrow and also for the near term future. So why on earth is the Fed so important? Let's just break down something very quick. If you guys don't remember, the inflationary data, or one of the most accepted inflationary mechanisms for data, is CPI. And it's not necessarily perfect, but it tends to be accepted by investors, which is why it's important. So what's big about it is, the month of August's data came out in September, just a couple of weeks ago. And if you guys don't remember, CPI actually cooled down just a tiny bit overall when you actually include gas and energy. But when you actually break down the numbers, the number was misleading, because gas came down a little bit, but everything else, utilities, electricity, even like food, all these things went up. And that's why core CPI, when you exclude food and energy, went up, which is not a good sign. That's why the market kind of crashed a couple of weeks ago. So this is important because right now, inflation has not peaked. So a lot of hands have been thrown at the Fed to do the job and really start to bring it down, become more aggressive if they have to. And that's what Powell mentioned a couple of weeks ago at Jackson Hole. So the market did take a big hit because Powell did mention that he is ready to be aggressive if he has to, and 100 basis points is on the table. Now, just to make this clear, tomorrow, guys, is when the big day is going to happen at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. That's the FOMC meeting. That's when the rate hike decision is going to be made. Many sources confirm this time. It's once again 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. So what's going to happen during that time? The Fed is going to raise the federal funds rate, which basically charges commercial banks a lot more money for basically taking on loans and doing business. Now, when banks need more money to borrow money, when it's more expensive for them, they start charging a lot more money to consumers. So this means that credit card payments, your loans, your utilities and things like that, they're going to become a lot more expensive when it comes to taking loans, borrowing money, mortgages, and that's what slows down demand and is supposed to be slowing down inflation. So far, it hasn't been working too well from the Fed, but the reaction tends to be slow. So it takes many months for us to really see the effects come into play. But right now, people still believe that the Fed has to be even more aggressive. So we are going to see a big rate hike, either 75 basis points or 100. And what's important is, the markets have already priced in 75 basis points. We're actually expecting this. And that's the reason why when you look at CME Group Data, you could see 84% of the change that comes from a 75 basis point rate hike has been basically priced in, and 16% for 100 basis points. Now, this is a little bit misleading. This means that we already fully priced in 75 basis points, and we're getting ready for 100 basis points, but we haven't fully priced in 100 basis points. All right, so we're prepared for 75. We're not fully prepared for 100 in a way. So what this implies is that when you look at the data, if we get 75 basis points, this means that we may have some short-term relief for the markets, because once again, looking at the data, we priced that in already, right? We dropped a little bit more than how much we should have dropped, but we haven't dropped enough to fully price in 100. So for the short term, if we get 75 basis points for tomorrow, the market could rally. The market is probably going to rally. It's going to do a lot better. But what this means is for the long term, potentially there could be a little bit more pain for the markets, because the Fed wouldn't be as aggressive to bring down inflation. Now, if we get 100 basis points, that's a fancy way of saying a 1% rate hike. This means we could see more short-term distress because the markets haven't fully priced in 100 basis points. However, what's good about that is this means that the Fed is willing to cause some more pain for the short term so that the long term could be less painful, because there'll be less long-term potential pain for inflation, and inflation is more likely to come down sooner if they are more aggressive now. So either one of these are possible based off what Powell said. We are more likely to see this because of what the market priced in, but either one of them are still possible. And that's the reason why I'm not too comfortable kind of like being certain about any of these. So if we get 100 basis points, Tesla and the stock market are most likely going to have a very dramatic reaction. We might see a crash, guys. It's not going to be pretty, in my honest opinion. If we get 75 basis points, the market is probably going to rally because we already priced it in and we are already prepared for what's about to come. Now, I know Tesla is an amazing company, but remember, fundamentals are not what are driving the market right now. There are lots of companies that are very strong fundamentally, like T-Mobile or even like Tesla, and yet they are seeing some pain here and there relative to their all-time highs. Now, despite that, it's very important to know that for the long-term future, for many years to come, fundamentals will be the king, in my opinion, and Tesla and these big companies will recover. But for the short term, it really depends on the Fed, our economy, inflation, and other global factors as well. Right now, the markets are getting ready for some more potential downside. We can see that the puts to call ratio is about 1.36. That means that there are more puts being bought than calls. Now, although this could be kind of like an indication that one side could get destroyed, it doesn't always mean that, because it really depends on the news in this case and not really as much on market maker manipulation or things like that. Now, as far as data goes, historically, during the month of September, we tend to see the market take a bit of a hit, and then we start to kind of capitulate around this phase and get a bit of a push up going into midterms. That's what typically happens during the midterm elections. Now, the real question is, are we like right here already? Has the market already kind of like bottomed for September and we're about to start rallying? Or are we about to see more blood before we get some more of a bounce? I don't truly know the answer, guys. It really depends on the rate hikes. If 75 basis points comes, we're more likely to see us just rally from here, maybe some chop here and there, but more of a rally going into like the month of October, approaching November. But if 100 basis points comes, we could see more red for Tesla, for SPY, and the overall market before we do start to see another push to the upside. As far as the data goes, right now when you look at Tesla, we can see the short volume percentage did come down, which goes to show that those with long positions are having the edge right now. The bulls are mainly in control and Tesla's holding up pretty well, but this could change depending on what happens during the FOMC meeting, and that's why it's very important to be prepared. Now, I do have one good piece of news I want to talk about Tesla that's very amazing. That's the fact that at the Giga Texas to date, we have over 10,000 Model Ys already built, and that's very impressive in my opinion, because they just recently started the production and they're doing an absolutely fantastic job. In my opinion, I'm very, very bullish for the long-term future, and I really believe Tesla is working hard to meet those demand needs. So with that said, guys, what's going to happen to Tesla? What is very important to really watch for? Well, when we look at Tesla, there's something very important that I have to like note right here. Obviously, Tesla's holding up pretty well. I really like the strength that we are seeing from a technical standpoint. It's looking pretty good, but it's also very important to look at other indicators out there, because tomorrow, where Tesla goes really depends on the news. It really depends on what's going on with FOMC. So on the daily, when you look at it, check this out. We have this like big chop zone right over here, and we got two major rejections off 314. Now we are pretty close to that zone, but it doesn't guarantee we're going to get rejected from there. It really depends on the news. Now, if Tesla does get a big push to the upside and the market's pretty bullish for tomorrow after the news comes out, Tesla has the potential to go to about 320 a share, maybe a little higher than that, and we could get a very nice move to the upside. But if we do end up coming down, there's going to be a lot of potential for us to actually retest these support zones, and we are going to take a bit of a hit if we do see the Fed being more aggressive and give us that 100 basis point hike. Now, remember, the SPY and NASDAQ are kind of like diverging from Tesla in a way because Tesla's like holding up a lot better, but they do have somewhat of an influence on it. And that's why it's very important to note this. For SPY, obviously it's just dropping and dropping and dropping. And hopefully we do get a bounce for tomorrow if we do see the Fed giving us 75 basis points. But if that's not the case, it's important to note that right here, the SPY has a gap in that 376 range, and there's also another gap down here. Where's that in like the mid 360s? So overall, we are seeing some potential gaps on SPY, and if they are to get filled very soon, the 100 basis point rate hike could be the catalyst for that. Now, do I like to see that? Of course not, but you have to be prepared for that because if SPY does come down to fill those gaps, it could have a big effect on Tesla and cause Tesla to retest the trend line right over here. Now, I know you guys don't like to hear that, but it is the uncomfortable truth that you need to be prepared for. Tesla does have a gap down in very close to like 250. So that's once again another very important zone that we should be well aware of at the very least, just in case something ends up happening. So as far as the support and resistance levels go, if Tesla does end up getting a very nice push with the overall market. If we end up rallying off a 75 basis point rate hike, Tesla has the potential to push up to about 314, and I think we could break past that, go all the way up to 320 or even a little bit higher than that into the low 320s. Now, if Tesla doesn't get the big break to the outside, I'm sorry, the upside, I don't know why I said the outside, the upside, and Tesla ends up coming down, then you have to watch for first off 305 because we did actually bounce off that. Watch how it reacts to the 200 EMA. And then if it doesn't hold 305, 300, 295, and then 290 are all very possible for Tesla to reach, depending on how tomorrow goes. From a technical standpoint, I'm not as worried as what the indicators are showing us just yet. To me, it looks like technical analysis isn't the only way to really encompass Tesla right now. It's more of like what the news is showing us. But from a technical standpoint, RSI is picking up. The MACD is looking more bullish. Tesla is still looking strong as of right now. So I am hoping that Tesla continues to push up if we really get that decision. With that said and done, guys, be prepared for this for tomorrow. We're either going to get 75 basis points or 100. Both of them will have different effects on the market, on the economy, and it's very important for you to be prepared for tomorrow. Just as a quick reminder, at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time is when the big decision is going to be made. Be ready, do what you have to do, and I'll most definitely see you guys in the next video. Thank you all so much for listening. Please note that the long-term future of Tesla is still incredibly bright, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Tesla's to the moon, and peace out.